Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Tanks. I want to drive one really badly. World War II brought out the worst and the best in the world. It also brought a ton of revenge and overall just badassery. It also had a lot of women doing kick-ass things. Mariya Oktyabrskaya is one of them. Let's get started. Okay, first and foremost, pronunciations of words is already very hard for me, and I do greatly apologize for that. It's my stammer. I do my best. Sometimes I even have trouble pronouncing my own name, okay? It can get rough certain days. In this video, we are going to Russia, so I apologize even more. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be butchering a lot of these names, but I will do my best. Let's try the best. How the heck do you pronounce this chick's name? Mariya Vasilyevna Oktyabrskaya was born on August 16th, 1905 in Yekaterinoslav, which is present-day Dnipro, Ukraine. If I mispronounce any of those, I'm so sorry. Again, I got the robot here to help me. I don't know. Her family was poor, and she was one of 10 children. And when I say her family was poor, I mean poor. They were, wow, poor. Her family were serfs, which is basically a medieval slave. So Mariya's life, to say it was a struggle, is putting it mildly. Her family was owned by the lord of the land they lived on, so Mariya had very little education, but she learned to be a hard worker from a young age. Though she had very little education, Mariya loved to learn. During her early years, Russia was having a bit of an identity crisis. By 1917, the Russian Revolution had gone full steam ahead. Led by Vladimir Lenin, the Bolsheviks seized power and started implementing communism all over the country. Like many Russians, Mariya and her siblings welcomed it with open arms, mainly because they were now able to be free from their medieval slavery roles and actually do things they wanted to do, like get an education and work where they wanted to work. I snapped my finger. This made Mariya a hardcore communist. And before I move on, I'm not going to go into the communist rule because we all know what communism is. And remember, in the early 1900s in Russia, communism was not a bad deal for them, especially with how the country was in the early 1900s. Communism sounded beautiful to them. With her family no longer working for a lord, Mariya was able to attend school and eventually found work in a cannery, which basically means they canned food preservatives. She worked there before going to work as a telephone operator. By 1922, the Soviet Union, known today, was formed, and 3 years later, in 1925, Mariya met and married her only husband, Soviet Army officer, what the heck? Ilya Oktyabrskaya. Wait, Ilya Oktyabrskaya. Ilya was a sergeant in the Red Army who served at the Regiment Commissar of the 206th Division. And it was with the marriage to Ilya, damn it. And it was with the marriage to Ilya that Mariya became interested in army and military matters. Now, being a military wife, Mariya joined the Military Wives Council and trained to be a nurse in the army. And this is where I have to give perks to the Russians in World War II. Mariya, a woman, was also trained in how to use weapons and drive vehicles. At least in Russia, we were given a gun. Mariya once said, quote, "Marry a serviceman and you serve in the army. An officer's wife is not only a proud woman, but also a responsible title," end quote. This mindset made her the epitome of a perfect Red Army wife, and the couple was deeply in love and full of potential. Then World War II happened. That's just kind of how everything starts. And then World War II happened. Deer! We have this big deer here, and he's totally flirting with this one girl. Where was I? Right. World War II. When the Eastern Front of World War II began on June 22nd, 1941, which was when Hitler turned on Russia and began Operation Barbarossa, Ilya was called to serve and Mariya was evacuated to Tomsk, a city in Siberia, for her safety. While there, Mariya got the devastating news that her husband had been killed by the Nazis near Kiev in August of 1941. But because of the war and the fact that she was in freaking Siberia, the news of her husband's death took 2 years to reach her. Now, this is where we need to remember our awesome gun-toting female friend, Ludmila. Remember her? Badass chick. Remember when her husband died because of the Nazis and she kind of went on a killing spree for revenge? That's basically what Mariya goes on to do. Mariya was mad. The news angered her beyond belief, and like Ludmila, hell hath no fury like a Soviet widow, and watch out, Nazis. Get him, girl. Determined to avenge her husband's death, Mariya tried the traditional way first. She tried to enlist in the army, but was turned down because of her lack of military training. She suffered from cervical vertebral tuberculosis and her age. She was 36. But Mariya is persistent and stubborn. So this is what she did instead, because this makes complete sense. She sold all her possessions, got 50,000 rubles, which is roughly over 305,000 US dollars, then used the money and donated it to the Red Army for the construction of a tank. She then sent a telegram, which Gen Z's is basically an old form of an email, to Joseph Stalin, requesting permission to join the Red Army. This is awesome. Quote, "Dear Joseph Vissarionovich," I think so. "In the battles for the motherland, my husband, Regimental Commissar Ilya Fedorovich Oktyabrskaya, died. For his death, for the death of Soviet people tortured by fascist barbarians, I want to take revenge on fascist dogs, for which I have contributed all my personal savings, 50,000 rubles, to the state bank to build a tank. I ask you name the tank Fighting Girlfriend and send me to the front as the driver of said tank. I have the specialty of a driver. I have excellent command of a machine gun. I am a Vyacheslav shooter," end quote. Not long after it was sent, the State Defense Committee and Stalin granted her request for the tank to be built and actually agreed to name it Fighting Girlfriend. Plus, she was then enrolled in a training course for tank drivers so she could then drive the Fighting Girlfriend that she paid for to have built. We love all that. The Fighting Girlfriend was a T-34 medium tank. This model of tank was 29 tons, and its 3-inch tank gun, that's the really long, big gun thingy on it, was more powerful than the previous models. This design had a long-lasting impact on tank design and was actually praised by Germans that encountered it during Operation Barbarossa. Like, even the Nazis were like, that's a good tank. The Soviets would build over 80,000 T-34 tanks of all variants. 5 months later, Mariya and her tank were sent to the front lines. This is awesome. She's going to the front lines with her own tank that she basically paid for and named it herself. Yes. During Mariya's training, she faced many biases. For one, she was 38 when she entered the program, and two, not so much because she was a woman, but the fact that, unlike her, most tank crews were sent straight into battle with little to no training, and she's getting training. So that puts her kind of on a bit of a pedestal that the others did not appreciate. Either way, she quickly showed how smart and determined she was and quickly earned respect from her fellow soldiers. She and her tank, sorry, it's just freaking cool. She and her tank were sent to the front lines in September of 1943 as a driver and mechanic and were assigned to the 26th Guards Tank Brigade, part of the 2nd Guards Tank Corps. This brigade was tasked with defending the city of Stalingrad, a key location to the Soviets during the war. Fighting Girlfriend, I'm so sorry, that's just freaking awesome, was painted in bold on the side of her tank. And the pictures are freaking cool. Many in her unit saw her as a joke and nothing more than a publicity stunt. Because, since she was a widow of a fallen soldier, that she was only allowed in the army as a propaganda piece for the Soviet Union's image. But when she was in her first battle on October 21st, 1943 in the city of Smolensk, which had been recently retaken by the Nazis in September, those views would very much change. Mariya and her unit were sent to remove any remaining Nazi soldiers in the city. During the battle, Mariya and her Fighting Girlfriend tank crew, that's just so cool, were the first tank to breach enemy lines and just wreaked havoc against the Germans. They annihilated artillery guns, machine gun nests, and took out any and all Nazis in her way. Male soldiers fighting alongside Mariya were very impressed with her show of courage in battle. And that's putting it simply. For example, don't know when this happened, but during a battle, okay, look, tanks are really cool, right? Like, monster trucks ain't got nothing on the crushing power of a tank. I'm so sorry, they just don't. The only bad thing about tanks is that they are really big. And because of the fact that they're really big, they make very easy targets. During a battle, the Fighting Girlfriend was hit with gunfire and took a lot of damage, but somehow did not blow up. Mariya and her crew were given orders to abandon the tank. Mariya, being Mariya, ignored these orders, got out of the tank, heavy gunfire coming all around her, repaired the tank, cause remember, she's a freaking mechanic, fixed the tank, got back into the tank, and continued to just release all the anger of her on the Nazis. She was promoted to sergeant after that. After the battle in Smolensk, Mariya wrote a letter to her sister saying, quote, just like Ludmila, yes, it's a little bit scary how her mindset works, but it is awesome. Quote, you can't be happy for me. I've just been baptized in battle. I'm slaying bastards. Sometimes I'm so angry, I can't even breathe. End quote. Aren't you happy for me, sis? I'm like slaying a lot of Nazis right now with my big tank called Fighting Girlfriend. She continued to fight on the front lines for several more months, continued to jump out of Fighting Girlfriend tank when it took a hit, fixed it, and got back in and returned to combat. Because she did it once, why not continue to play with the freaking devil? Why not? Earned several medals and decorations for just being a freaking awesome chick. 2 months later, on January 17th, 1944, Mariya was in another night battle as part of the Leningrad-Novgorod offensive. The battle took place in the village of Kurinki in present-day Poland. The town is literally right on the border with Belarus. During the battle, Mariya drove her 234 tank, running over Germans, destroying trenches, nets, just taking out all the trenches, all the Nazis. Even took out a German self-propelled gun. However, her tank was hit by a German anti-tank shell and the tracks of the tank were immobilized. Mariya, being Mariya, got out of the tank and began to do repairs while taking all the gunfire around her. She managed to repair the track, but she was hit in the head by shell fragments and lost consciousness. She was transferred to a military field hospital at Fyastiv near Kiev. Then she was transferred to an actual military hospital in Smolensk. The doctors found that the shell fragment had hit her left eye and penetrated the cerebral hemisphere of her brain. The doctors operated to remove the shrapnel from her head. Though the operation was successful, Mariya's health rapidly went south and she remained in a coma. While in recovery, a major of the Red Army visited her to present her with the Order of the Patriotic War First Degree for her heroism and courage. Mariya Vasilyevna Oktyabrskaya died on March 15, 1944 from her injuries. She was 38 years old. She was buried with military honors at the Heroes' Remembrance Gardens in Smolensk. In August that same year, she was awarded the title of Hero of the Soviet Union, the highest honor of the Soviet Union for her bravery in battle. This made Mariya the first female tank driver to receive the Hero of the Soviet Union award. The Fighting Girlfriend tank remained in service till Victory Day on May 9, 1945, but it was replaced 3 times before it reached the Baltic Sea, where it was dismantled. Every time the tank was replaced, Mariya's crew insisted that the new version still have Fighting Girlfriend on its side as tribute to their fallen heroine. Okay, there you go. I think I did okay pronouncing Russian words. I think I did okay. So there you go, the awesome story of the woman who bought a tank to avenge her husband. That is love of a man on another level that I unfortunately do not understand. If you learned something today, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And while you're down there, please leave a friendly comment and tell me, is Mariya more badass or is Ludmila more badass? Let me know down in the comments. I will be back next week with another story. And of course, next week is the first week of December. So this is going to be Christmased up. You have no idea. I'm so excited. And my lineup for December, it's really fun. It's really fun. It's really fun. But until then, don't be well behaved. You just might make herstory. See you next time, guys.